Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I am, of course, your normal host, Sal, and here, of course, is our regular host, Joel. Today, we're going to be talking about movie reboots and remakes, or rather, we're going to give you our top 10. Now, you might be asking yourself, that's not very specific. Your top 10 best and worst movie reboots is what we're going to be doing. So, we're going to have two top 10s, so 4 top 10s between the two of us.
All for the price of one show. You're welcome.
Yeah. I was thinking, we could milk this and make it into a couple episodes. No, you know what? Screw it. We never do the sequels. Let's just do one big episode where we run down our top 10 and top best. Well,
we promised the sequels, but we haven't done them yet.
It's true. I need to make a list of the sequels we promised before we can even get into that. So, Joel, what is your overall opinion of reboots and remakes?
I think you can make a good movie out of anything, and that includes other movies.
For me, I'm of the opposite mindset. I find that one should leave well enough alone unless they failed the first time.
There are definitely certain movies that belong to a period of time and should never be remade, like obviously, classics like The Godfather and Gone with the Wind and all that other stuff. I would even say weird nerd properties that were only as good as they were because they were lightning in a box at the time, like The Crow and Highlander, 2 movies I love, but I don't think should ever be remade. I mean, just look at their goddamn sequels. They only worked once.
And they've been trying to reboot those 2 properties for at least the last 15 years.
Don't do it. You won't have Queen. You won't have an awesome 90s soundtrack. You won't have Brandon Lee. Just don't do it.
No. What would be benefited by making a Highlander movie today?
They're fine. They're the best versions of what they were.
You just get Sam Worthington and Jai Courtney hurling swords at each other, all the while the woman that they both love at the same time is sad on the sidelines. Then it turns out that she's an immortal too, and they have to fight her. It's just it writes itself in the worst, most cliched way possible.
And you would never have Clancy Brown doing one of the best villainous turns as the Kurgan.
Now that said, I mean, he's still around and he would do a great job. The fact is, they're all around. Adrian Paul's still around.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery is still around. Yeah, that's right. I was like, he's dead. No,
he just hasn't done any movies.
His career is dead. He's still who's the other one? What's his name? Christopher Lambert. And Clancy Brown. That's all you need.
They really are immortals at this point. They do have inside them blood of kings.
They should just do screw a sequel, or screw reboot. Do a sequel. Let's just.
Oh hey, the Kurgan wasn't really dead, as we find out.
I mean, Sean Connery wasn't really dead in Highlander 2.
Yeah,
he went to the moon because they're from space.
Oh my god, that friggin' thing in Highlander 2 where they turn out to be aliens, god damn.
And then in 3 where it turned out to be a dream.
Yes. See, that's why I kind of love the Highlander series, because it'll do such stupid things, then back out and retcon them super hard.
Like in the show when they had the Watchers, and then in Highlander Endgame, they were like, that's dumb, and then had a rival group of douchey immortals just murder all of them. It's over.
And break all the rules that have been set up since the first one. No fighting on holy ground. Well, on this one we can, though.
Yeah.
And don't even get started on that stupid Highlander sci-fi movie they did where they further retconned bullshit and moved it to Eastern Europe because it would be cheaper to film there.
Oh, you mean like what they did in Ghost Rider 2, where it's like, wouldn't that movie have been cooler if it was just in Texas instead of just in Prague?
But it's cheaper there. See, I bet you if they do another Highlander, they'll move it to Canada and they'll film the whole thing in Toronto where it'll be super cheap.
Yeah, they'll Blade 3 it up. So,
hey there, I'm a Highlander. I'm an immortal, eh?
Oh, sorry.
I've been a pacifist for thousands of years. I don't take part in the game.
Oh no. So, all right. We each have a top 10 list, 2 top 10 lists. How do we divide this up?
I guess let's just go shot for shot, and if we say the same one, we'll talk about it.
All right, let's do. Let's start. What do you think? Let's start with best and go with worst.
Good idea.
All right, the best. These are our personal picks for the top 10 best movie reboot / remakes of all time. Obviously, when you think of reboots and remakes, it's funny. There's one that everyone thinks of and then immediately dismisses because it's Cronenberg, The Fly.
Yeah.
I've seen the original Fly, and I was like, this is stupid. And then I remember them making not that I don't remember them like making The Fly with Jeff Goldblum, but I remember finding it and being like, this looks bizarre, and then finally catching it on cable and being like, this is the darkest shit I've ever seen in my life.
One of the major innovators of body horror, like it's the year one for that.
Yeah, The Fly is. It transcends what it was and becomes something. It practically defines a genre. It creates a world where the focus of the movie is watching a man transform. It's like it's like a modern day werewolf movie practically. Only more horror, because it's not that he turns into a monster and kills people. It's that he turns into a monster, and the compelling part is like, how is this going to wrap up, and how much more of a monster can he become? Like, you're worried about him harming himself, much less everybody else.
And Goldblum sells every moment of that because he seems not right in the head, and that's the best part.
Jeff Goldblum is... The Fly is the movie that convinced me Jeff Goldblum could act.
Oh, God.
Because I've seen movies... we've all seen Jurassic Park, Independence Day.
Chaos Theory.
Where he's just like, I'm in an Apple Macintosh commercial. Like, he always does this one part. Earth Girls Are Easy, same person, incredibly young looking.
I'm amazed someone remembered Earth Girls Are Easy.
The fact is, Jeff Goldblum is to The Fly what Matthew McConaughey was to Reign of Fire, where they must have gotten this script and went, this is amazing. I can't phone this shit in. I gotta Brando this motherfucker. Like, it's just unbelievable how much effort Goldblum puts into it, where he's like, I gotta get into shape, and I gotta like act and figure out how I can she just gets really into that role.
How do I talk? How do I walk? How do I make this thing my own?
Yeah, I'm literally becoming a fly. I have to figure out how I'd start walking. Like, what? So cool.
He just ate flies endlessly for it.
No, like Kraven the Hunter, he became that which he wanted to be. Like, he consumed that which he wanted to become.
Damn right.
So The Fly, what do you got, Joel? What's on the top 10 best?
Well, I'm going to start one off here with one that I think a lot of people forget is actually a remake, and that is Scarface.
Yeah! I hate Scarface.
Do you really? Dude, bro, you hate Scarface, bro?
I do. It's just one big chicken that's waiting to be plucked. Thanks, TV.
Oh, man. TV edits are great.
Yeah, I hate Scarface, but I do acknowledge that it is better than the Cagney Scarface.
Yeah, that's the thing, too. It's an old Cagney movie. Again, it was one of those movies that really started and really cemented that whole criminal rags to riches, rise and fall to power thing. Now, if it makes you feel any better, Sal, I think Goodfellas does the same story way better.
I mean, when it comes to crime flicks, we could do that. We could do that until we're blue in the face, where it's like, Godfather.
Mark that down. I want to do that.
Yeah. All right, crime movies or crime family movies. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I never found it compelling.
It's so part of the pop culture zeitgeist.
Oh, it is. Everyone fell in love with Scarface, and in fact, it found like a revival only about 10, 15, 20 years ago. People were like, hey, did you know about this movie, this Brian De Palma classic? And they put it on T-shirts and posters, and they made that awful sequel, the video game.
The video game is fucking hilarious, because it is a sequel. They undo his death.
Yeah, they're like, nah, Tony Montana made it. As it turns out.
Okay, here's the true thing. So I actually played the game.
I assumed.
And I kept dying in like the opening tutorial. I'm like, why the fuck do I keep dying? This is so stupid. The skull, who is what he's called in the credits, kept shooting me in the back with the shotgun like he does in the movie, and I didn't even see him spawn behind me. And I'm like, oh, the game assumed that you saw the movie and would know to turn around and shoot the guy behind you.
That's awesome.
Okay, game. Okay.
You got me there.
You got me. You're okay. That's fine.
Yeah. But Scarface is a reboot. People don't really know that, but it's there.
Not only is it a reboot, but apparently Anton Fuqua wants to do a new modern-day Scarface in 2016 that once again evolves the story of, what it means to be a criminal mastermind, what it means to, come from another country and make a big deal of yourself here. I wonder what he would do, because obviously he couldn't do Colombian again, couldn't do Italian again. Would it be like...
Would it be Middle Eastern?
I think it has to be because that's where all the heroin and all the poppies is now, and you could actually tell a really interesting story with a Middle Eastern Scarface.
Oh, you look at the Middle Eastern billionaires who bring their Bugattis and whatnot to different countries. They just fly them there so they could drive around. Like, that is something you could definitely explore.
You could talk about the crazy level of excess there. You could do like the whole wealthy chic thing, living in a tent in the desert with all that drug money. Or you could do the cartel movie that we've never really seen before, and that is show the real cartel, and that is they're not all these, crazy fly pimp dudes. They're guys who look like your dad who live on huge ranches and everything.
Yeah, it's true. And it's funny, I don't really have an issue with rebooting something like, or remaking something like Scarface. Now, I can imagine there's people who have a holy hissy fit when they hear the idea of, like, redoing Scarface, but
my thing is you can't freak out because it's already a remake.
Well, it's already a remake, yeah. But we're talking about movies. This is the top 10 where it's like the best, and I think that this one kind of does dwarf its predecessor, it gives you, it tells something new. It's not just a cash grab. Like they weren't we gotta get in on this Scarface money. And while the ideas that you were pitching were original. I think as long as that's the focus, like we're going to tell this story about this thing, and we'll call it Scarface because in a way it's a spiritual remake of the original Scarface. I think that's permissible. Like
which further begs the question. We were kind of talking about this one before we started. What constitutes a remake? What makes it a reimagining or a reboot? And is there much difference between them?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because there's some movies I put on here later and some ones that I wanted to put on that I'm sure we could argue about. Like, what if it's a movie reboot of an old TV show? Does that count?
And it's funny because then you have movies like Starsky and Hutch, where
21 Jump Street.
21 Jump Street.
That's one of the ones I was debating over.
And they're totally different things. Like, they're not the movies. Miami Vice, which no one liked.
I would have liked Miami Vice more if they called it anything but Miami Vice.
Yeah, I'm sure if they had called it something else, it would have been at least an original property. People would have loved it. Same
with that Evil Dead remake. If they had called it anything but Evil Dead, I would have been cool with it.
I don't even count that because you know what's funny? I picked for worst and best. I picked movies that were either like accepted by the populace or that's pretty much it. Like if everybody agreed that the movie was horrible, I probably didn't put it on the list. Where it's like the culture rejected your reboot.
I could very easily have done a third list that are like sideways reboots that are just fine, like Death Race with Jason Statham.
Right.
That one was a pretty decent actioner, is what it was. I rented it on DVD from the Blockbuster back in the day, and was not disappointed when I saw it. Didn't change my life, but it was okay.
Right, exactly. So all right, we got Scarface down. For me, I'm gonna toss out Evil Dead 2.
Yeah, which it's funny you should say that because I was gonna say, is it just a remake of the first one, or is it a sequel, or where would we throw that?
It is outright just Sam Raimi being like, I know how to do this better now, and just knowing and going the troll route. And when I say that, I don't mean like an internet troll. I mean, there's this weird phenomena where if you're making a crappy horror movie and you want it to make a little more money, you call it a sequel to Troll. Troll 2 is a big, hilarious movie that nobody enjoys or enjoys on a really campy level. It's not a sequel to the original Troll. There's no
they
trolls
just took the name
in the movie. They just picked the name and give it a sequel. There's another movie, I can't remember what it was actually called, but they also called it Troll 3. Again,
there's a bunch of movies that they took Troll 3 for. Same for like all those Italian zombie movies that they just call Zombie.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to say that, Evil Dead 2 is a reboot, but it's made by the same people, and it stars the same guy, and it has like the same exact story. And you know what? It succeeds, because the first one's like, what the hell? And the second one's like, oh, I see what you do. They kind of embraced the humor, but also upped the gore.
By that same token, Mad Max 1 versus The Road Warrior.
Yeah.
A lot of people would throw that in the same camp of like, it's the same guy, a similar but different universe. The first one was dystopian, this one is apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Would you technically call Road Warrior a remake of Mad Max? It's definitely something of a do-over in a lot of ways, but it keeps all the same, supercar action, super Australia stuff.
Or El Mariachi and Desperado, where it was just like El Mariachi was Robert Rodriguez being like, I've got a few $1,000, here's what I can do with it, and then being like, okay, here's $1,000,000, here's what I can do with it.
I shot a bunch of stuff in the first one, and I shot even more stuff in the next one.
Exactly. So you got a couple of those. What is it? So I mentioned Evil Dead 2. Joel, what else is on the best?
Here's one. Here's a newer one that actually kind of blew me away. It blew me away so much it actually made me seek out the original and be like, yep, the remake was better. True Grit from the Coen brothers.
Ooh, yeah, that's on my list as well. True Grit is so well made.
Man after my own heart, Sal. This is why we do this show.
Exactly. I do love True Grit. I've seen the original one. I kind of dig John Wayne a little more.
It's the one he won his Oscar for.
Yeah, there's something to be said for the approach. I really, really wanted to love Jeff Bridges more than John Wayne in this movie, but the older Jeff Bridges gets, the more of that character he becomes. Like, he does that voice. He doesn't need to do that voice. That like,
I'm becoming Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah, that's his Rooster Cogburn voice. He uses it in that awful Ryan Reynolds movie, the one that's like Men in Black.
R.I.P.D. Yeah.
Yeah. And he does it in the most recent. He does it in I'm the Giver. Like he's all over the place doing that stupid voice. And we've seen Tron Legacy. I know you don't sound like that, man.
But you're just doing it.
Yeah.
Don't believe church stories, fairy tales, and stories about money, little lady.
Oh, yeah. That girl, she was so good.
Amy Steinfeld, who didn't do any more movies after True Grit. She stopped. She only came back in the last little bit. She's doing, like, pop star stuff now. She's singing, and I'm like, oh, I wish you still acted, though, because you're fucking amazing in this.
She is. She's hardcore.
She is the goddamn Terminator in this movie. She is with huge actors, like we said, like friggin', Matt Damon and everything, and she is just schooling them.
Yeah, it's true. But
she's acting circles around them.
I love True Grit. I think it's a solid flick. I think in many ways, it dwarfs the original, but it's
also a movie that takes the story from the original, which is based on a book.
Exactly.
Actually.
They definitely try to like honor the original material.
They honor it, and then they also blow it up and go some different directions with it. What I like about it is in the original True Grit, you actually get to see Tom Chaney kill the dad and start it off. The Coen Brothers movie goes the different way. We hear about the crime. They build up Tom Chaney as like this, evil dude we gotta catch. Then you see him, and it's just Josh Brolin doing the most pathetic shitheel.
That's the
kind of portrayal, which I thought was great.
He does a nice job with that because he plays just such a pathetic loser that is unworthy of vengeance.
Absolutely. He nails that so hard, and I'm like, whoa, that blew my mind when you finally meet him. Like, this guy's a loser. He's on the ass end of the pyramid of the other bad guys.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other bad guy, Pepper, the Pepper Gang, played by Ned Pepper, ironically, the actor. Jesus Christ, how did he get that role?
Yeah.
Playing a somewhat more honorable bad guy than the hero who we've been following. It does that Unforgiven thing where our hero is more of a villain and our villain is more of a hero.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually willing to, fair terms on everything. He actually, isn't mean to the little girl and everything. He's actually kind of a cool dude. And you figure, man, there's a whole nother movie starring you, right? That
yeah.
I could probably see.
Exactly. Switching gears a little bit, here's one that like is kind of controversial in my house anyway, and it's Ocean's 11.
Oh, for the worst or for the best?
Best.
Oh yeah, I agree. Ocean's 11 is on mine too.
It's fantastic. It's so great. It like helped to reinvigorate some careers and kick off a few.
It's so damn cool, and it's effortless.
That's
in
right.
Its
well,
coolness.
It shows how much work goes into it because they made it look so easy. And we know that it's not because Oceans 12 and 13 are so fucking terrible.
There's parts of 12 I like, but yeah, 13 is almost unwatchable.
It's just there's nothing fun about what they're doing, and the first one is just like the only bad part of Oceans 11 is Julia Roberts, where it's just like ugh. Get her out of here. But otherwise, everybody else...
And they write her and all the other women off for the third one because they didn't want to pay them. And they're like, no, it's a boys' mission. No girls allowed.
Which frustrates the hell out of me. I was like, you could put more women in this or get better female actors into this flick, but whatever.
Don't worry. Apparently, they're going to be doing a whole women's version of Ocean.
I heard that. I would rather see an all-female cast of The Expendables. But,
yeah.
Fine. Yeah, but I dug the shit out of Ocean's 11. First, saw it in theaters, we're like, this is really good!
It was badass, and to bring it back to the coolness factor, obviously for those who don't know, Ocean's 11 is a remake of an old Rat Pack movie.
Yes, which was more or less just a home video for his for Sinatra and his pals to hang out.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's really they capture that feeling of coolness where it's like who would be our modern day Rat Pack of actors who are so slick and so charming.
Yeah,
and they got together a pretty damn charming thing. Yet again, another movie with Matt Damon, and that's when we had 2 Matt Damon movies in a row.
Yeah, that's right. I think he's off my list after this. Nope, I got one more for Matt Damon.
Ooh.
And it belongs in our crime list. We'll see.
Nice. Oh, okay, then yet again, you and I picked a similar movie.
Exactly.
Man, see, I knew we were the right ones to do this show, Sal.
So what else you got on your list?
Should I switch over to worst, or should I keep doing
No,
let's
just fill out the best and then move on.
Okay, so here's one that may actually be a tad controversial. I'm not saying it's better than the original, but I think it's a pretty damn good movie that stands on its own. Zack Snyder, who we beat up a lot on, Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead is fantastic and on my list.
Written by James Gunn.
Written by James Gunn.
The man knows horror. He knows dirty grindhouse.
Dude practically brought back the zombie movie genre into theaters.
We wouldn't have Walking Dead if it wasn't for this Dawn of the Dead movie. I think it did kickstart zombie mania all over again.
Yeah, I still think 28 Days Later is a better movie overall and better and more like genre bending, but Dawn of the Dead is just like a fucking video game come to life.
It is, and in a good way too. And what a film class too, where it's like we're gonna film all of this stuff in really small quarters in just a couple sets.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be so exciting and so cool. It's people just sitting in a goddamn mall, but it's riveting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's solid. Everybody's acting great. Ving Rhames is hilarious in that movie.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah.
It's great because it's just schlock. And the one thing that secured me having to go is the teaser for it.
That was also
the teaser
really
was just. I don't remember how it opened, but like it acted as though the film breaks, and then you're just looking at a white screen, and then there's zombies trying to get through the screen as though you're in the theater, and there's zombies behind the actual screen trying to come and get you.
Oh yeah.
And that is unbelievably scary. It was like it evoked the feeling of the Great Train Robbery when they had the cowboys shoot at the screen and people ducked out of the way.
Which they would redo in Goodfellas with
Joe
Pesci
Pesci,
at
yeah.
the screen. Good stuff. This movie was also dirty and gritty, and it looked like everything hurt in this movie. Like when people got hurt, you're like, ow.
Oh yeah, and
Visceral.
everyone's an idiot. No one's a protagonist. It's hilarious because like when they make their bus and he's like, "Go look, I created a hole for my chainsaw." I'm like, what a fucking horrible idea.
Yep, and yet kind of true to life too, because if you were in a real life zombie predicament, everyone would be dumb and everyone would be an asshole, and it would end a lot like this.
Yeah, it's true. Also, yeah,
what a great use of a cover of Down with the Sickness.
Oh my god, yes, that's hilarious.
The John Cheese cover of Down with the Sickness, and don't they use Johnny Cash too in the beginning of that when the man comes around showing the fall of society to zombies, and I'm like, you had me at Johnny Cash.
Yep.
You can only lose me from here.
One reboot / remake that I love. It was for part of my childhood. I grew up with this movie. It is almost perfect, and it's a brilliant, unbelievable smorgasbord of amazing actors. Is Little Shop of Horrors.
Hey,
one of the best musical soundtracks of all time. I could do a whole episode about Little Shop of Horrors. My dad played Mushnik in every stage production in New Jersey.
Really? That's awesome.
I love Little Shop of Horrors. Rick Moranis, Ellen Green, Steve Martin as a greaser dentist monster.
I am your dentist.
Levy Stubbs, everybody. It's amazing. The soundtrack is worth the price of admission alone, but stick around for the amazing special effects for that plant.
Oh, yeah.
I because of my love for the stage play or the musical, I watched the original Roger Corman Little Shop of Horrors, which is basically... Okay, so the concept behind Little Shop of Horrors was they were like... Hollywood, like some studios would just have sets, like the dentist set and the flower shop set, and Roger Corman just cobbled a movie together
as he often did
with available sets. Like they wrote a script around what available sets they had. Like we got an outside set, we got a alleyway set, we got the flower shop, and he just wrote a script around what available locations they had on the sound stages, and then shot them pretty much over a weekend and made this flick.
Nice.
And it's the first film that Jack Nicholson was in.
Oh yeah, that's right, it was.
He played the Bill Murray role in the...
Holy shit.
And it's just hilarious, but like you could see the idea and you could see the plan, and it's a really brilliant execution, but when they decided to make it into a Broadway musical, and then when Frank Oz, Yoda himself, decided to direct this movie and make it a live-action version, like it was... This is lightning in a bottle. You're never going to see a movie like Little Shop of Horrors again.
Hell yeah, that's a good one. I ironically also have a musical on mine, but I picked a different musical.
What do you got?
Now here's the thing, too, because this falls into my... Is it a remake or is it something else?
Right.
Okay, so Sweeney Todd, there have been other film versions of it before. There's been other, stage versions of it before. Does the Tim Burton version count as a remake?
I think you could count it. I mean, like, if there's a film version, yeah, although you could also consider it to be an adaptation, because it's like...
That's where it falls.
Like the Les Miserables movie. Like, is that a remake? Not really. It's just a movie version of the play.
I really like Sweeney Todd. In fact, I think it's one of the few genuinely really good Tim Burton movies he's made in a long time. He wasn't on autopilot for this one.
No, yeah,
He genuinely seemed to give a shit,
despite the casting.
Yeah,
which is usually a good indicator that Tim Burton is ready to throw his feet up on the ottoman and just let it roll. Let Danny Elfman run this one for me.
Some great supporting stuff here. Alan Rickman sings beautifully in this one.
That's awesome.
Pretty women. Even Johnny Depp. It's like, hey, Johnny Depp, you can sing all right too.
Yeah, dude is a Renaissance man. Another
movie that is ugly and dirty and doesn't pull any punches and everything. It is weirdly punk rock for such a fey twee musical.
Right, totally. Another flick that I'm just going to really quick touch upon that is fantastic and is technically a remake is Chris Nolan's Insomnia.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I almost put that one on. I
had to put it on because I was like...
I've never seen the original, and I know a lot of people argue over which one's better. It was a Norwegian movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like Let the Right One In. Like, I didn't see the original of that one either, but I never saw the new one either, so I couldn't really speak to that. People were saying, what about Let the Right One In? I'm like, I can't talk about that one. I don't know that one.
There's something we haven't covered yet, but we will cover American remakes of foreign movies. I have at least one on mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's on the worst list.
That's a Tiffany episode.
Nice. So you mark that one,
yeah,
too.
I'm going to bring her in for that one. But yeah, fucking Insomnia is fantastic. People were like, 1 hour photo is Robin Williams' dramatic debut. No, first of all, watch Good Morning Vietnam. Secondly, Insomnia is unbelievable. And also, it was around the time when Al Pacino started to melt and fake act and didn't care anymore. And yet, he's great in this movie.
Tell people about Insomnia, because I get the feeling a lot of our younger fans have no idea what we're talking about.
I think it's one of Chris Nolan's first movies.
It is, I'm pretty sure.
And it's basically just, there's this kind of like rule-bending cop who's towards the end of his career. It's Al Pacino, and he's solving a murder that takes place in Alaska during that month when it's all sunlight. Dude is not acclimated to it and not ready, and his partner is coming with him, and they both go, and his partner's going to turn state's evidence against him because he's like, You bent the rules too many fucking times, and you have to
give us your badge and your gun, McGonagall.
So they're on the hunt for this child murderer who is Robin Williams, and Pacino either deliberately or accidentally, but he hasn't slept in about 3 or 4 days at this point, so he's already fatigued. He's on the run in the mist in Alaska in a foreign place, in the middle of the night, which is in the middle of the day, and he inadvertently
Shit's not good.
Yeah, and he inadvertently kills his partner, who is the man who would turn him in and would ruin his life. And the only one who saw it is Robin Williams.
Oops.
And so you have this complicated cat and mouse game between the two of them, and it's freaking amazing. And it's just perfect acting, and it's fantastic. And even what's her name, the Gone Girl. I can't remember her name.
Oh, yeah.
Not Gone Girl. I'm sorry. The Clint Eastwood boxing movie girl.
Oh, $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby. Thank you.
You know, the actress $1 Million Baby.
Yeah,
you know the movies that $1 Million Baby starred in.
Yeah, yeah. Well, anyway, she's great in it. And but it's so great. It's the first movie and the first time in which I heard the joke of what has 2 thumbs and loves blowjobs. This guy. I'm like, what? That's not a joke. And
It is now.
proceeded to use it all the time. Hilary Swank, thank you. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, rent it because it's really good. It's just
I'm sure you
solid.
can find it on Netflix or Hulu or something.
Yeah, just catch it because
we live in the age of streaming. It's not hard to find movies.
right. Yeah, I guess you won't be renting it, but go get it because it's so well directed.
That's your homework from Sal and Joel of the Elseworld Exchange.
Check out Insomnia.
Go see Insomnia. Write a paper. Submit it by Monday.
By the end of it, you will despite its subject matter, you will sleep like a baby when it's over because that movie has such a great. It is such a great way in which it makes you tired. Like, you are as exhausted as Pacino by the end of the movie.
Speaking of cop movies and reboots, one that I debated over putting on here, but I wondered if I even could on principle because the director straight up said I never saw the original, and that is the Nicolas Cage Bad Lieutenant Port of Call New Orleans, which is a remake of the Keitel movie.
I didn't see either of those, so...
Man, if you love fucked up art movies, I can never remember the guy who did it, but the guy who did the remake of Bad Lieutenant, he turned it into an art movie, is what he did. He took, like, a gritty cop movie, and he made it into a fucked up, mind-bending, Herzog. It was Herzog.
Oh!
Yeah. Herzog made a Louisiana, like, dirty cop movie starring Nicolas Cage, and it's insane as you think.
Yeah.
like I think it could have caught on as much as, like, Defoe and Antichrist, because there's a lot of saying, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this movie's on a whole nother plane. Like, what is it? Like, there's a great scene where Nicolas Cage stops a prostitute from turning tricks, takes her crack, and then smokes her crack in front of her while knocking around the John.
Oh,
that's the type of movie it is.
Okay, and that is definitely a Nicolas Cage vehicle there.
Oh God, yes, and oh God, who's his partner in that? What is it? Friggin' Batman. Batman was his partner.
Chris, what's his name? Christian Bale?
No, not Bale.
Keaton?
Keaton. No, the other guy.
Kilmer?
Kilmer. Yeah, Kilmer is his partner in it.
Okay.
And Kilmer's like the nice straight cop.
Okay.
And everything in the well, actually, he's not really nice because they're also talking about like the corruption of cops in Louisiana, and this was like right after Katrina too.
Oh shit.
So everything is still flooded, and it's him trying to solve this case. And he's like, no, I'm going to do this one right, even though I'm a total fuck up who does everything wrong. I'm going to try and do this one right. It's actually kind of cool. I don't know if it's as good as original Bad Lieutenant, because that's like one of Keitel's like best performances. Like, he literally bears all in that, and it's on the poster.
Right.
That's the one where Keitel gets buck-ass naked.
Oh, good.
Because he's drunk and fucked up on everything, and he's talking about how shitty everything is. But yeah, that's one I would put very much in the maybe file.
Similarly with cop movies, I know it's on your list, is The Departed.
Yeah, Infernal Affairs.
Yeah, it's a remake. I wasn't a huge fan. I've recently I've seen it again. I recognize it for its genius. I don't think it deserves Best Picture. And it's definitely not Martin Scorsese's Best Picture, but I think
that's the payback movie. This is thank you for all the other movies. We'll give it to you for this one. Here's the thing. I saw The Departed in a hotel room back when you could get, like, first run movies on a hotel pay-per-view.
Oh, okay.
and I think I fell asleep near the middle of it and woke up, and it was one of the most like who, what, where, what, trying to like keep everything straight.
Yeah.
Then I watched it again and was similarly confused. It wasn't until the third time I actually got it and appreciated it.
Yeah, I get it. I was very frustrated with it because it was like,
It is.
we're gonna do a Western movie but with non-Western sensibilities, and I'm like, don't do that, Scorsese. You can't make that work. And it kind of does, but the acting's
Nicholson
great.
is pretty great as the villain.
Yeah, Damon
Based
and Wahlberg are great. Martin Sheen is great. Like, everybody in it's so just terrific. It's just
Isn't Affleck in that for a minute too?
I don't know. Is he? That'd be awesome. I'll have to check that out again, but I don't remember.
I want to say Affleck's one of the guys he works for.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, I dug it. I recognize its greatness and its achievement.
We can say it's good if slightly overrated.
Yes. I think that the Academy made it overrated, but otherwise, I think people's affinity for it is not misplaced.
It was the first time I ever heard the story of Whitey Bulger, though, which I would later go on to read up on and be fascinated by, because that's who Nicholson is playing. He's playing the real-life Whitey Bulger, who, in fact, Ray Donovan, one of the best crime shows no one is watching, James Woods plays a Whitey Bulger character in the first season. I think it's one of the best performances he's ever given.
Nice.
Yeah.
What else you got for best?
Okay, what do I got for best here? Let me look at my thing here. Okay, we did The Departed, which was actually on my thing there. Okay, so here's one that, again, falls in the is it a remake, is it a reboot, is it a reimagining? Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, I think that is definitely a remake. I think that if you're good, because I don't think it fits in with the Heston movie.
No, it doesn't.
So it's technically a remake, because it's also, since it's not the Burton Planet of the Apes and it's not the Heston one, then it's its own Planet of the Apes, so it's technically a remake.
So it's Ultimate Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, but solid.
It is solid, and they keep a bunch of the names. I mean, they keep a bunch of the names. They keep the thing with the shuttle.
Oh, yeah.
That's like a background thing. Like, if they wanted to pull the trigger on that, they couldn't. God willing, if they ever make a third one, they will pull the trigger on that.
Yes, and I think they will. I think it's getting there.
But yeah, that's not one. That's two great movies in two completely different genres.
Yes, yeah. No, I was amazed because I was like, oh god, we're doing another Planet of the Apes again, and then just like all of a sudden you hear all these fantastic things being said about it.
Did you ever think you would like another Planet of the Apes movie, which we might talk about later on?
No, I did not.
Let alone two. I mean, one is like a really great character drama with Franco and his ape friend, and you can't help but fall in love with Caesar. And yet also totally feel the catharsis in his, fuck all them guys.
Yep.
Fuck humanity. Like, that's a movie that gets you to root against humanity at the end. Yes, Caesar, tear it down. Tear it all down. And then a sequel that blows it up even bigger to being like, maybe we can work together. Maybe now that the world is destroyed, we can build peace between man and ape. And, oh, crap, this is a Planet of the Apes movie, isn't it? No, we'll never do that.
Nope, that's not going to work. We got to be... Yeah.
The second one also is probably one of the best anti-gun messages in a movie I've ever seen, and that is the ape society is going great and going good until they introduce guns into it, and that's like, oh, now you're literally as bad as us humans now. Mm-hmm. That's all it took was the means to kill each other on a big scale, and now apes have become mad. God damn it.
Yeah. Now my the rest of my three from best movie remakes, I'm gonna try and get Tiffany to come in because they're all Tiffany movies.
Oh, right on.
They're movies that we both agree are the best, or at least some of the best. I'm gonna lead things in with Freaky Friday.
Oh, okay. Can I admit that I saw that and enjoyed it? Okay, cool.
I think Freaky Friday is just a really, really solid remake. It just really did a good job. I mean, it's Lindsay Lohan before she got gross, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis right after she got into her second renaissance of hotness after True Lies. Yeah. And it's just kind of fantastic. It's just a fun, purely cute movie that is like. It's like Legally Blonde, where it's like even though you're a full-grown dude, you're like, you know what? I'm having a good time watching this movie.
You gotta let your guard down. You gotta let your guard down sometimes. I remember I saw that in probably the best way to see that Freaky Friday reboot. I was at a friend's house, and his older sister had control over the TV, and that's what she was watching.
And you're like, I'll try to watch this, I guess.
Yeah, well, we were doing other stuff, and then slowly but surely, we started watching out of the corner of our eye. Then we actually started watching, and then by the end, we were right into it, and it's like, I hope no one tells that we're into this.
Exactly. It was like when the Powerpuff Girls movie trailer came up, and my equally aged friend, dude, and I, like, he turns to me and goes, "We've got to put on disguises and go see that movie."
I actually did that.
I did. I didn't put on disguises. We went. And I was like, "Well, I'm going." He's like, "I'm not going." And I brought my my friend, who also is a girl, and because I couldn't call her my girlfriend because she's not. And we went to this movie, and it was just us and children.
Yep. Wow. That was me too, and I'm like, oh, I look creepy here. Luckily, I'm a couple years younger than you, so it probably wasn't as creepy for me.
I brought a girl, so I didn't look quite as creepy.
No, you're just on a date.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Her boyfriend would have been really upset with me though.
Well, I was sure to come in late, do like the collar held high thing.
Oh, good. That would have been. That definitely doesn't make you look nearly as creepy.
No. See, I'm a smart. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna run down this list really quick. The next one up on our list is it's technically a remake, but it's not really. This is not a remake. It's not a reboot. I call this a straight-up adaptation, just despite the fact that there was a movie starring this character in the 90s that was garbage, and that is Dredd.
Oh, yes. I see. Shit, if I could have put Dredd... Okay, I'm putting Dredd on my list now, too.
Because there was a Judge Dredd movie, and the reason I put it on the list is because culturally speaking, general movie audiences were only aware of Judge Dredd because of the Stallone movie.
Yeah, this ain't Stallone. Where's Rob Schneider?
Yeah, or Amanda Sante.
Right.
And when people went to go see Dredd, they were like, this is not the Stallone movie.
Nope.
Comic book fans were like, cool, a Judge Dredd movie. And, Dredd fans were like, holy shit, this is actually good.
Right.
But I called it a remake only because culturally in America, they thought it was a remake.
Dredd deserves so much better.
Yes.
Didn't it? That movie was so cool.
I mean, well, their marketing team didn't handle anything.
No,
frankly.
They needed the Deadpool people.
They didn't spend the money in the right places that they had for that, which is what I think ended up inevitably happening, because it's like, unless you kind of had your pulse on the community of like either comic book movies or just movies in general that were smaller, you had no idea that was even coming out. Like,
no, I didn't.
You would know if you went to the movies, you're like, Dredd?
Yeah, and they also
was 3D.
They called it Dredd 3D in all the titles.
Right, and so like that was that's not a big seller, but the fact is the movie is so spectacular.
Yeah.
And
it's one of the few movies that's not shameless about its 3D. Like, it actually enhances the movie. They had a reason to make it in 3D.
Like, I prefer it without the 3D, but I'm not a fan of that whole thing. I mean, like, in one of the Resident Evil movies, it was kind of funny because that was so tongue-in-cheek. I was like, ha, you're doing 3D.
Yeah.
But
the 3D was also, like, really good.
It was fine. Yeah, quarters.
Yeah.
But Dredd is... like, it's a movie all on its own, right? It stands alone. It's fantastic. And then you have the opportunity to actually compare it to another movie who has the same character in it. And you're like, oh my God, it's so much better. Like, it's like without, like, even if you never had the Stallone Dredd, it would still be a great movie.
It would still be great, because you would have nothing to compare it to.
Right.
Except 70s action, low-budget schlock movies.
Right,
like,
exactly.
It was a Charlie Bronson movie with Judge Dredd in it.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, I know some people are probably like, I missed the campiness from the Stallone Dredd and like the ridiculous costumes that were almost like, accurate to the comic book. You know what? That works in the comic book because it's a parody of the American justice system.
Yep.
But if you're actually going to take, kind of this overall feeling and like our idea of what Judge Dredd is, and you make it into a movie, then you want the Carl Urban Dredd.
Yeah.
Like, that's where you're going to want to go, is right over there. And let me show you something amazing. It's over here. It's Carl Urban. He frowns like no one's ever frowned before.
Yeah.
If I ever meet that man, I don't want him to smile in the picture with me. I'd be like, could you just do me a favor? Could you just frown? Because I've never seen anyone frown like you.
And he keeps the mask on as he should.
That's right.
Yeah. Talk about, like, the complete opposite of every other person who plays a superhero who's like, no, they need to see
they gotta see my face.
He's like, no, I'm Judge Dredd.
Yeah. No
Judge
one cares.
Dredd doesn't take his mask off.
It doesn't hurt that it's Carl Urban. What's his name? From Lord of the Rings, what's his character? Éomer?
Yeah.
He's Éomer and the necromonger guy. So he doesn't command a price that also allows him to take the helmet off.
You could also argue too that Dredd movie was also a bit of a remake of The Raid because it had basically the same plot of let's fight our way into, then fight our way out of a heavily armed, tenement complex.
Yeah.
What I really dig about it is a female villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like such like
Mama.
a like kind of like macho movie in a sense, like to have like this chick who's just like, I am so vicious, like, I seemingly I look like, small and whatever, but like the things that are going on up here you don't want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Lena Headey just owns that so much.
Like she does in
good.
everything. She's so
on
great.
TV in Game of Thrones, and then in that movie too. She's found so many different ways to play the same sort of badass "don't fuck with me" chick.
Right?
Yeah.
And I love that, like, okay, from the original Judge Dredd, I always remember the I am the law. Right? And, like, he says that, too, Carl Urban. But,
And
like,
there's
for
two
me,
totally different-
It's two totally different takes on it. But for me, the thing I always remember as his classic line from Dredd is, yeah.
Yeah, that's...
After
Yeah.
he pushes her out of a window,
She just
possibly
smash-
gonna blow up everyone.
Yep, she just smashes everywhere.
Right?
Just, yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like, that
So
is so badass.
It's amazing.
God, I love that movie. That's a movie I could watch anytime.
Yep.
Anytime. Dread's on TV, I'm watching Dredd.
Yeah.
We're hanging out with people. You want to watch Dredd? Let's watch Dredd.
It's also not long, so it's easy. You can
No.
throw on for like 90
It's
minutes.
just, it's such an amazing science fiction movie and an action flick. Like, it's just
Hell yeah.
so tight. Like,
Yeah.
there's no point where you're like, man, they should have edited that out.
It's-
Nope.
It's a better version of RoboCop than the remake of RoboCop. We would get ultra violent, look at the American legal system, as you were saying.
Yeah. The other one on our list is another technical remake, and it is The Thing.
Yeah, that was my last one. I knew we were gonna both mention The Thing, so please continue about The Thing.
The Thing is a perfect movie in every respect.
It is.
There's nothing else to really say except for like
Excellent body horror.
yeah, it's technically a remake. There was The Thing from Outer Space, and in fact, it's.
But who's seen The Thing from outer space?
I mean,
A lot
no.
more people than you would have
Yes,
expected.
I've seen it, but it's also like the opening of The Thing, where the title and the alien and everything, it was all homage to The Thing from Outer Space, but it's also Carpenter being like, I'm doing this though.
Yeah.
And
But
it's
I'm doing
something
my
else.
own thing.
And yeah, and it becomes something else. It's a transformative remake, and it's the best kind.
I gotta tell you, never forget, if you've never seen this movie and you go and see it, this film was made in 1982. It came out in 1982, and some of the effects that they've put into this movie are
still breathtaking.
they're spectacular for the times. Don't forget, it's the 80s. I mean, yes, we had Star Wars, right? Cool. That was mind-blowing, right?
Yep.
That's technical effects with ships in outer space. There was some puppets, awesome, cool, whatever. Some of the stuff they do in this with some of their, like, quote-unquote jump scares and the way that they portray this thing you've never seen before in your life,
Yep.
they really do stand up to me to today.
Yes.
Like, that... no, this isn't spoilers, because if you haven't seen it already, I'm not spoiling anything. When they have the guy on the table and and his head just separates and then sprouts legs and just crawls away.
like a Venus flytrap.
That is just one of the most amazing effects I have ever seen. Also,
Still is.
What a great line.
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
Yes! Yeah, right?
It's a way to acknowledge what's happening in the movie and like to connect directly with the audience.
Yeah, because you as the audience are thinking that exact thing. Like, no, they set it on fire. They're all done. They
Yeah.
did it. They defeated it. Oh, okay. I mean, the movie is, like, thank God for John Carpenter. Like, not that there's anything wrong with, like, older sci-fi B-movies or anything like that. They're great. They're fun. They're awesome. Like, there's some really great ones. There's some really lousy ones. But, like, John Carpenter took The Thing and created something that would change the face of how we looked at sci-fi horror, I feel like.
yeah.
And, like, an isolationist movie. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, this is an all-male cast. And it's a very small cast.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
it's a single location. Mm-hmm. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
Claustrophobia personified.
Right? Like, he manages, like, and I always feel like this is it. This is the best John Carpenter ever did.
Yes.
Was in 1982, he did The Thing. And he created a movie that had monsters. It also had mistrust. Like, there's so many layers to why
the
this movie
paranoia
is,
is
scary.
excellent too, because humans are the greatest monster, and
Exactly.
distrust is a monster unto itself.
Exactly. And the man is not afraid to end a movie with no actual ending.
Well, there isn't. That becomes the ending.
But at the same time, like, you as the audience will leave the theater, leave your house, whatever you're doing, and be like, I'm not sure I know where Carpenter is going, where he thinks it's going. Like, which one is it?
Yep.
If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, this is the one you got to go see.
Speaking of the thing, didn't they do like a sequel, remake, prequel many years
They
after
didn't
the
just
fact?
do that. They also did a video game that supposedly followed like from that moment.
A few
at the
moments
end,
later,
like this other team shows up and like it's an abysmal game. Like the mechanics for it are really wonky.
Yeah,
at
Spoonie
best.
did that back in the day. That was one of his first things.
Yeah, it's not great and it's unnecessary.
yes.
We don't have to know what happened.
No. Yeah.
I think we'll mention John Carpenter again when we talk about the worst, because I have a John Carpenter remake on
John
mine.
Carpenter,
But
man.
that other movie that they did was one of those where they were like, yeah, it's like a remake. And then they're like, no, it's like a prequel.
Well, what happened was they were going to just remake it.
Yeah.
And the guy that they hired was like, we can't remake the thing.
You can't.
And so he forced them to turn their remake, which is just a point-for-point script of, like, remake of the thing, where he's like, I will... If there is going to be a Thing movie that is going to come out, it has to be a prequel to the Thing.
Yeah.
It can't be a sequel, and it can't be a remake. So I really feel bad for that director, because he really tried.
Right? Like, I get it. Like, he was given an opportunity, and he wanted to take it. And
I
he
will
tried
say, that movie is garbage.
It is.
But the ending is great. Because he's just like, no! And he just makes it the opening to the
Right?
thing.
But it's like, at the same time, it's like, for me, I'm like, what is the point?
There's no point.
You told the story. You told the actual story we needed to know.
Yeah, we've seen it.
And you filled in all the gaps of what came before.
Yeah.
And we don't really need to know what happens afterwards. Like, you told the exact pinnacle of story that you needed to tell us, and it's perfect.
Well, that's the point. That's why I hate prequels and stuff like that, is because I'm like, we've already got the maximum amount of usefulness out of the story that they told us. Like, if the story's good, then they told you the exact... It's like... like when Obi-Wan's like, your father was a great pilot and I knew him and I trained him, like, that's all you need.
Yeah.
If that's where Lucas started the story, it's because all the other shit was boring and not interesting.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he was right, because then he gave it to us and it was boring and uninteresting. So it's like, yeah, like that's how it, like, don't tell the rest of the story if your real story is not contingent upon it. So anyway, there you go.
Right.
2 movies. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course.
Thanks, Tiff.
So, you got any others before we get into the worst?
We've now done all of my 10 together
Okay.
with that. I knew this would happen. We ended up doing all my 10.
Yeah. So let's get into the worst reboots and remake movies of all time. We could talk about The Thing really quick. Just, I feel bad because he tried to game the Hollywood system by turning their shitty reboot into a direct, if not spiritual, prequel to something good. And what happened was, it did as well as it was going to do.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares.
Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't know what The Thing is isn't going to go see The Thing now. And anybody who does know The Thing isn't going to go see a Thing reboot.
It's true.
So, there you go. Joel, what else you got?
So for the worst, to start things off, we kind of, made fun of him before, Sam Worthington. Clash of the Titans.
Okay. Have you seen the original Clash of the Titans?
Yes, it's cheesy as balls, but I respect it for its workmanship.
I have no respect for that movie. That movie came out around the same time as Star Wars, and it looks like it was made in 1952. I like that crappy reboot of Clash of the Titans. I don't think it's good, but I kind of have fun watching it.
That one bugged the shit out of me. It's funny, too. It's a movie with a very hardcore atheist message, which I'm usually all
bizarre,
for.
yeah.
Yeah, to be like, yeah, screw the gods, but the gods are clearly real, though. They're walking around and influencing you.
Yeah, it was like Troy. Remember how Troy was an atheist movie, and you were like, if it's good... But none of them were.
Yeah, it's like, don't get me wrong, I respect this message. I'm for it and everything, but at the same time, not here, not in this.
Yeah, Troy, they believed. They had no other explanation for what happened to their only origins are in the gods, you fucking idiots.
The fact that the Kraken that they keep building up to looks nowhere near as cool or amazing as that other Kraken, because it was something you had never seen before.
Which,
this
of
one's
course, they opened that movie, they're like, the Kraken! Let him out!
Again, we got to talk about the Kraken. Everything
Yeah.
is Kraken.
Yeah. Crack-a-lackin'.
The team members that just kind of come and leave and everything, and the fact where it's like, oh, but here's the owl though from the other thing in a throwaway bit. See,
I heard
See, we're
Sam
bank
Worthington
bombs.
had a fucking hissy fit about that too.
I bet
Like
he
was
did.
like, I don't want to fucking use this stupid owl, and he threatened to quit if they put the owl in the movie, and so he like turned it into a joke. I'm like, Sam Worthington, you're terrible.
yeah.
You're a T-cell actor. They put you next to an actor and they make you into whatever they need you to be. You're not anything. You have no distinct personality.
Low rent Paul Walker for this.
The best thing he ever did was, or the most perfect casting for Sam Worthington is, make him a voice in one of those Call of Duty movies.
Yeah.
Or games, rather. But,
Yeah.
by the way, really quick about Clash of the Titans, love that Pegasus.
Pegasus, yeah.
Looks like a fucking horse with wings.
That's all right.
Unbelievable. Anyway, Clash of the Titans. Lol.
Clash of the Titans, that's what I got. What do you got?
The Pink Panther.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
Fuck you, Steve Martin, and your, like, apparent hatred of comedy.
Such death to comedy.
Dude went from, like, being a pioneer of modern comedy to, like, the cancer of it. It's weird. But anyway, it's just garbage. It's not even worth really talking about. Just wanted to say, it's so fucking terrible, it is worth saying it's one of the worst.
Yeah.
Fuck the Pink Panther.
Yeah, I agree. I never even saw it, but I'll take your word for it, because why would I want to see
Yeah,
that?
I've seen enough of it to be like, no.
Another one for mine, Conan, with the current Aquaman, Jason
Fuck
Momoa.
Conan! First of all, they call him Conan.
Yep.
Everybody pronounce it Conan! Like, you mean the 9-foot-tall late-night host? Because that's what it's pronounced like.
Now, I remember getting into arguments with people before with being like, well, but the general story structure of this is actually a lot closer to the
Yes.
Conan books and comics that everyone likes than the other movie was. I'm like, yeah, but the Schwarzenegger movie was ballin', though.
That's the thing. Conan the Barbarian. I think that's what it was. Or Conan.
Yeah.
Which one was the Destroyer? I think Conan.
Destroyer came later.
Okay, because like the original one with Arnold is a legit, like, Meatloaf album cover, sword and sorcery.
Oh, yeah.
Hardcore, like,
Finish album cover.
film. They're doing something, and because that
Great
movie,
villain.
that movie's unafraid to be boring. Conan
Yes.
gets boring, and or gets self-indulgent, and you got Mako's in that fucking movie.
Yeah, it
But
is.
anyway, like,
What a soundtrack, too, for Conan the Barbarian.
yes, but Conan is a fundamental misunderstanding of the source material. It's just what. So it's what Hollywood does. It's proof that there is a list on the wall in certain major studios where they go,
Oh, yeah.
what do we own? Let's make a reboot of that.
What hasn't made us money?
It's why there's a Ben-Hur reboot. I'm not even going to list it, but like, it's why they made it, because like, what else do we have?
Who was chomping at the bit for a Ben-Hur remake? What massive Ben-Hur fans out there said, you know what I need? I need to see a version of this with, Morgan Freeman with dreads.
Honestly, I think that the only person who wanted that was some like really old executive who's like, we got to bring things back to the way that only Hollywood used to be. Like, we'll get a new Ben-Hur movie, and it'll be bigger and better and more beautiful.
Then
than
we'll
you've ever...
remake Cleopatra and Caligula.
They've been trying to remake Cleopatra starring Angelina Jolie forever, and the movie just fell out because it cost too much. But anyway, yeah, Conan sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It's just a video game, which
Sure is.
incidentally, there is a Conan video game that they made recently, and it's way better than that movie.
It is.
I can't wait for King Conan,
Oh, yeah.
starring
It's
Arnold
coming.
Schwarzenegger.
It's coming.
Yeah, they're gonna make that movie one day, and it's gonna be kind of cool.
If they made John Rambo and Rocky Balboa, they'll make King Conan.
If they make Terminator Genesis, then they'll make and that's a sequel. I don't count that as a reboot or anything.
Even though they tried to retcon and soft reboot the
Fuck
whole
them. No
series.
one wants that.
No. Go away.
Don't worry. The Terminator license trades hands from studios so many times that like the next studio that buys the rights will try and make another Terminator reboot. Until James Cameron gets the rights back, which is actually not too long from now, a couple of years.
Yeah.
And James Cameron gets it back, and what he'll do is he'll put it in the fucking vault and leave it alone.
And never touch it,
Yeah.
because that's what a cool guy he is. And also because he's too busy remaking and doing avatars.
That's right. Yay! Can't wait for those sequels of Avatar. Total Recall sucks.
Yep, sure does.
What the hell was that? Who asked for this shit?
as next to nothing to the other movie, pretty much.
Nothing remarkable about it. Terrible acting. Just generic schlocky bullshit. Who cares?
Sometimes you can make a really bad movie just by making a really mediocre version of a great movie.
Exactly. If you are gonna call it that, if you're gonna make you could make a modern adaptation of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep and make something really cool with today's technology and today's actors and creators. But remake and Total Recall is not the way to go.
You want to know another really boring ass remake of a great movie? 2010's Wolfman.
Fuck that. I didn't even see it.
It was boring as shit.
That's too bad.
Like I was literally sitting there like Milhouse with his "When are we gonna get to the fireworks factory?" I was literally sitting there like, "When are we gonna get to the Wolfman factory? When are we gonna get there?"
Yeah, right. Hey, let's talk about Planet of the Apes from 2001.
God damn it.
That movie's it's so funny how much money is obviously spent on that movie. Like,
it's not cheap.
Tim Roth tries real hard.
A lot of them try hard.
They're all trying, and money is spent. That is so expensive looking, and it's funny because we saw it opening day. It was a whole bunch of us, and my pal at the time is still a massive Planet of the Apes fan. And when I say that, I mean he loves
the original science
Beneath,
fiction
Escape.
film series.
Yeah, he loves them all, and he goes to see this movie, and he is so done by the end that we get to the point where Mark Wahlberg comes back to Earth and it's taken over by apes, and it cuts to the Lincoln Memorial, and he just yells. He just yells out. He goes, "Look, everybody, it's Abraham Lincoln." And
which supposedly is closer to how the book ends, actually, from what I understand.
I wouldn't even know, but I thought that was so funny. And then they made if you ever saw Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back,
no, I did.
If you read his comic book Chasing Dogma, it's literally
they make that joke.
It's literally the same fucking movie, by the way. Chasing Dogma is just Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, but with better fugitive jokes. And in it, Jay has his little like freak out where he imagines the Planet of the Apes. And they do the same thing in the movie, but in the comic book, there's a scene where the apes are ripping the head off of the Lincoln Memorial and putting an ape head on top of it. And somebody noticed that and made a joke about it with Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith, of course, like made a joke back, and the guy printed
started
it.
a catty war between him and Tim Burton.
And that's where the line comes from, where he's like, anyone who knows my material knows that I would never read a comic book, but I would especially never read anything written by Kevin Smith.
I'm glad in this episode I could praise Tim Burton with Sweeney Todd and also kind of shit on him for Planet of the Apes.
Because what the fuck? Because Tim Burton is amazing. He's great, and then he's not. And then he reminds you that he can
blockbusters. He should not do big company blockbusters. He should do the movies that he's passionate about.
Because nobody fucking wants to see that shit. Like,
no. Alice.
Yeah. Fuck you.
But shit, is that technically a remake, or is that just another adaptation?
That's kind of a remake or an adaptation, because the only thing you have is like the Disney.
It's very close to the Disney version of things.
I think it is. I think it's through Disney, so it's technically a remake because it's using their imagery and their property. I think that's technically a remake.
Does that mean that Jungle Book one they did, and Maleficent, and that Beauty and the Beast
those are technically remakes as well, because they're. Yeah.
Which is it weird that I'm excited for that Beauty and the Beast thing when I heard who was starring? I'm like, dude, Ian McKellen's gonna be the candles. Fuck yeah.
He's gonna be the candles. Sweet.
I'm all about that.
Ian McKellen's gonna be a French candlestick. Fuck
he
yeah.
Sure is.
Yeah.
There's more good casting in the movie too. Like Josh Gad is gonna be LeFou. He's gonna be Gaston's little buddy. And I'm like, yep. I see it.
If Bruce Campbell isn't gonna be Gaston, then I'm not interested.
No, they got some other somewhat no-name guy who looks handsome but also plays a bunch of villains and stuff too. It's a pretty well-cast movie, actually.
Okay. RoboCop sucks and is generic and stupid.
And worst part is that like there's a germ of a good idea in there about like drone warfare in the modern age and the monetization of the military-industrial complex and police states and everything. You could have done a good one, but obviously this one had no interest in being smart or or even assuming that the original RoboCop is smart at all and more than just an 80s splatterfest.
Yes. RoboCop is a joke. See, the funny thing is people think that RoboCop's a superhero and he's not. He's a crappy cyborg in a dystopian future where the world is garbage.
It's a parody.
He loses every time he gets into a fight, like Murphy is like, let's take on these guys, gets his head blown off. RoboCop is like, I'm gonna kick ass and take names, gets fucking dismantled, gets rebuilt, and gets beaten again, and it's only by the grace of God that he stabs fucking Red in the neck, and and then his boss fires the guy and he gets to win. That's not a superhero, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
That's a hilarious joke. I'd buy that for $1. Everything about RoboCop is hilarious and amazing, but
what I love too about
superhero.
RoboCop that they forget is, like, at the end of RoboCop, the bad guys win. Everybody, not only did the bad guys win, but they've won for decades.
Yes, they always will win. Like, just because RoboCop doesn't die doesn't mean that they didn't get away with it.
And RoboCop is another one of those things where it's like the sequels got considerably dumber and got further away.
Yeah.
So
Hey, we can also thank Frank Miller for a couple of those.
They turned that into a comic, didn't they? Didn't they turn, like, his unused RoboCop 3 into,
and it's like, I wish they made that. Because that comic is a nightmare.
Of course it is.
But it fits perfectly with RoboCop. But
it also wonderfully fits into that weird time in cinema, that orientalization of everything. And Frank Miller's like, I was doing that before it was cool.
yeah. I will say there's one good part of RoboCop the remake, and it's the scene when they show Murphy himself, when he's dismantled and he's just a throat and lungs.
A nice image.
And the scene is pretty decently acted, and it looks fucking horrifying, and it's the closest thing to an original thing they do, and I'm like, that's really cool, because it really captures the desperation and horror of, like, what you are. He's like, I'm not a person. I'm not a person. This is not enough for me to be a man. And I'm like, that's cool. This is a really cool exploration. And he's just like, I don't ever want to see myself like this again. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm down for this. But no, just garbage.
Yeah,
especially towards the end, it just falls apart.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I got Old Boy, the American remake.
Oh, I never saw the new Old Boy.
You didn't miss a damn thing.
I heard it was just a literal, like, remake with white people.
It is, but it's a lot dumber, too. Like, it loses all the subtlety that the Korean version had. And you got Sam Jackson, who I should love, because you put Sam Jackson in anything, and that should be great. He's chewing every piece of scenery. He's playing a goddamn anime character. He's back into the octopus from the Spirit mode.
Oh, no!
His look, I'll show up to the set, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but it's not going to be acting, I can tell you that much.
Egg on my face!
I got 8 of everything. Toilets are funny.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, and then you got Sharto Copley. He was the guy from District 9 and Chappie. He plays the quote-unquote, de facto villain of the piece. Mm-hmm. And it's like Jared Leto Joker level versions of, I'm just going to try out a bunch of different voices and a bunch of different act effects. And you can save this in editing, right, can't you?
Yeah. No.
which the villain from the original Old Boy wasn't that at all. He wasn't a cartoon villain.
Yeah. One movie that's on the list that's Tim Burton, is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
You know what? It's funny. I actually defended this movie for a bit when it first came out, and I think even more now in light of Gene Wilder's death, rest in peace, funny man. Yeah, now I'm like, fuck this movie too.
Fuck Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, that changes pretty much everything. It's called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory,
but it's more about Willy Wonka! What the fuck is that all about?
Michael Jackson's Willy Wonka.
Yeah. Creepy, weird, stupid, and unnecessary.
Yeah, that's
all you can say about it.
The one good thing about it is who's the little guy actor in that movie?
Oh God, I don't remember his name.
He works his ass off as all of the Oompa Loompas, and like I remember watching behind the scenes of everything he had to do for the green screen stuff for all the songs. Deep Roy, yes. Deep Roy's trying really hard in that. Deep Roy, if you watch nothing else, just watch Deep Roy scenes, because that dude was given 110.
Well, anyway, I'm moving on.
No, you can't move on. Let me just say something real quick.
Yes.
And this is me just agreeing with you 100%. I know there are people in the chat who do like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Someone mentioned it early on that they liked it better, and that's fine. It depends on what part of your life you are. When you saw it, which one you saw first, whatever. Johnny Depp lacks subtlety. The man can have it. In that movie, he is swinging from the fences, and that is just not, for me, what Willy Wonka should be.
No.
There's something to be said about the original Willy Wonka that children can enjoy it, and the movie ages with you. As you grow up, as you transition into adulthood, you recognize different qualities in it. You begin to sympathize with different characters. You begin to understand the motivation of certain characters. The movie actually grows with you, and I don't think that can be said about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No.
Like, I don't think that, and while, yes, I get it, Roald Dahl was forever angry about Gene Wilder's portrayal of the character. I think it's just because he was like, that's not how I interpreted it. Well, you know what, man? You put it out in the world. Other people interpreted it as they wanted to, and that's what you got. You got Gene Wilder's interpretation of that. And for me, it is enchanting. The man is an incredibly skilled actor. His timing is spectacular. He does so many small, subtle things that over many, many watches, I am still noticing things. Like, he's having bit of business in the background of almost every scene, but he's not making a big deal about it.
No.
I mean, he's just, like, far and away better, and I get it. Look, Johnny Depp had to have looked at that and been like, I guess I'm going to try and do more of the book. I can't do what Gene Wilder did because I'm not him. I think he had total respect for the man, you know, and just went his own way. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
I never wanted to meet Willy Wonka's dad, who is also Saruman.
I don't care about that even remotely.
Well, it deflates the mystique of the character.
Yeah, you're just a guy then.
You're just explaining how that shit works, which is like, that's Patton Oswalt. I don't care about where the shit I love comes from. I just love the stuff I love.
The shit I don't care how the ice cream gets made with milk and rock salt.
Yeah, here's a big bag of rock salt.
Like, I feel like it completely, like, not only does it diminish the character, but it diminishes the point of the story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't, like, Willy Wonka could have come up from the ground. Like, obviously he had to come from somewhere, and I think we all understand that, but, like, we don't
need to know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the fact is, like, if you want to create a story where you have, like, these dueling roles between, like, Charlie himself and Willy Wonka and their journey, essentially, then you can't throw in a character like that. Like, Charlie essentially leaves his family behind partway through the movie. You know what I mean? It's just Grandpa Joe who's there, and he's the worst influence ever. You know what I mean? Like, he's actually not a good influence.
He's like one of the kids.
He is. I mean...
And also this idea, too, of being like, ooh, let's take Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory and let's make it more darker and menacing and maybe he really is hurting the kids. No, you didn't need that because it was already in the other one. It was subtle.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is. That's what I'm talking about, how the movie ages with you. As an adult, you're like, oh my God. Like, what is actually happening here? Like Gene Wilder's subtle dislike and hatred of these children is just barely there. As a kid, you're just like, oh, ha ha ha, mischief, fun, whatever, cool. As you grow up, you're like, dude, this man does not like these kids. He is here to punish those children for their 7 deadly sins, because that is what they are.
Yes, they are.
But, like, he's here to punish them, and he himself essentially is one in a way, because he's kind of wrath, but not whatever. Like, but... Like, as a child, you can put that on for kids. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, a kid can watch that movie. You have nothing to fear. Maybe the scene in the tunnel with the chicken and the bug. That's a little freaky. But, I mean, like, after that, like... That's
60s psychedelic.
That is 60s psychedelic.
And we'll never talk about it again.
And as a child, it's kind of disturbing. But, you know, like, that's a true sign of, I think, of a great movie.
Yes.
And then Wilder yells during that scene, too, and it's great.
Right? And look... oh, my God, he is spectacular. But that's
How do you direct a scene like that? I
don't think you do. I think you just sit back and go, what the hell?
Gene, what do you want to do, man? Because, like, the man got it. Like, he got the script. He understood it. He understood every single part of that script. I mean, we see a gambit of emotions from him. He's having a great time. He has a true hatred of these children. He could be completely benign at times. And then that last scene where he goes from, like, not only have I failed in what I wanted to do, but the one person I thought who was going to actually succeed and, like, could actually, like, show me the hope that is left in this world has completely screwed me over. Yeah. And he goes from complete and utter, like, you know, depression and anger and sadness to complete joy.
Yeah.
You know, like...
good day, sir.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. Tim Burton, like, you're, like, the master of, like, the whimsy and, like, all that crap, right? Like, you made Beetlejuice. Awesome. Cool. You made Batman. It was great. That doesn't mean you have to tackle this movie.
Right. Why did he take this?
Right? All right.
Who cares? Thank you.
You can't talk about Willy Wonka and not having it.
I know. So, yeah, that movie sucks. This is going to get Tiffany to freak out, so I'll move on to the next one. Psycho is the first movie that I saw that taught me that Hollywood has no shame.
And how?
I was like, you can't remake Psycho. Like, you can't do that. And they go, well, don't worry, it's going to be a shot-for-shot remake. And I said, well, what? Well, then what the hell's the point? And they were like, and they proved that there wasn't one. You know, they were just like, fuck you. It's just going to be garbage. Like, Vince Vaughn is not Norman Bates. Replacing it so that you can hear him fapping while he's looking at Anne Heche is, like, disgustingly weird. And I don't mean, like, disgusting. It's disgusting that they would show male masturbation. It's just disgusting that they would, like, they would be like, we're gonna do a shot-for-shot remake, but we're gonna like add stuff to the shots to make them new, and it's
to
just
take away the subtlety.
It's just such garbage, and like nobody is good in that movie. It's just so terrible, and it was just kind of like, what the fuck? And the dude who made Good Will Hunting directed that movie. It was like,
oh wow,
what? But yeah,
I've heard good things about Bates Hotel or Bates Motel.
I've heard that too. I don't care. I'm
just like, that's funny. Hannibal, that show was actually way better than it had any right to be. That's like ultimate Hannibal.
Yeah. So yeah, I hate Psycho, and I have like such a wretched hatred of it that I'm like, it makes me upset, like thinking about how bad it was. I saw that in theaters. Ooh. But anyway, what else on your list?
We've tackled all of mine now.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get near a chance to write as many bad ones as I wanted to.
The other one that I have on the list is a shout out to the future, and it's Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, and they undoubtedly remake that.
They are remaking it, starring The Rock as Jack Burton. Which
I'm sure they will miss the point, too, that Jack is a joke in that movie, and it is his Asian sidekick who is the real hero.
Yep, they won't get it. The fact they're doing it proves they don't get it, because they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna do it right.
Hey, James Hong is still alive. Can we get him back to be the Mandarin?
That'd be amazing for him to play.
All these years later.
Yes.
You don't even need makeup on him.
Play Lo Pan again? That'd be fucking awesome.
Just get him in there and let him do it.
Yeah. And The Karate Kid.
See, I didn't hate that. I would put that in more of my off to the side thing.
See, that's funny because I think The Karate Kid is wretched. It is so offensive in its execution and its desperation and its origins. Like clearly, okay, so Karate Kid, the original movie, which by the way they made a beautiful Blu-ray transfer of, is so perfect in its.
It's an 80s classic.
It's an 80s classic. It's a great time capsule. It's a perfect encapsulation of the hero's journey. It is a Joseph Campbell fucking study, and the only difference is they don't make it as dark as like killing the sage, but you don't need to. You make him go away.
Well, the bullies attempt to murder him. That's pretty dark.
That's close enough, exactly. But
that was back in the 80s when bullies would murder you.
Exactly. But the Karate Kid is such a solid movie that holds up. No matter, like legitimately, it holds up completely. Right. And what happened was, and proof of that is, what happened was clearly Will Smith remembered the movie, and he showed it to his stupid kid. And his terrible child enjoyed it because that's what you do when you watch good movies. You enjoy it. And so he enjoyed this good movie, and he said, like, God, wouldn't it be cool to do that? And instead of like signing up his idiot kid for karate classes or buying the movie on Blu-ray or maybe, like talking about it, like hyping it up a little bit and helping Ralph Macchio a little bit more, they decided to make a movie because of the clout and money that Smith had, and he turned it into like a vehicle,
nepotism project for his kid.
Yeah,
and wouldn't be the first, it wouldn't be the last nepotism project.
Exactly,
for his
kid, but it would lead to the last one, which is fucking what's that movie with M. Night Shyamalan?
After Earth.
After Earth, that movie.
No, it's Earth because it's Will Smith.
Welcome to it, but. But Karate Kid, the remake, is first of all, it's about kung fu.
It is not karate.
Second of all, it loses any of its message because of the narrative decisions it makes, the ways in which it tries to like ape off of what came before, and then make up the stuff in between. The age of the kid is wrong because it needs to be a kid who's like
a teenager.
Who's a teenager. This is like 11-year-old. It just every way doesn't work. It doesn't work on so many conceivable levels. And like Jackie Chan's in it, and he's just like
I love Jackie Chan, but he's no Pat F and Marita.
You can't. He doesn't know what he's doing. Like he doesn't understand.
Do I play this serious? Do I play this jokey? What do I do?
He's Kung Fu Pandaing it up, where he's like, I'll just take a check. I don't care. Or rather, he's Rush Hour 3ing it up, where he's like, I'll take a check. I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't care either. Like it's just.
I like money.
Yeah, it's just a mess. And
you would think it would have been. Was it a big hit too? Because they actually filmed it in China.
It made money. Okay, it made its money back, but it was so meh that it didn't encourage them to make more.
They do kind of change around the villains too, where in the original, the evil sensei is a maniac and the kid is just kind of an asshole. Now the kid he's fighting is a maniac and the evil sensei is just kind of an asshole.
And that's the thing, like in that movie there are like it's a thing that we find in all remakes and reboots that are bad, and it's just a complete lack of subtlety.
Mm-hmm.
The kids in Karate Kid feel bad. Like one of them is a monster.
Yes.
But the rest of them are children.
Yes.
And they have these reactions to when they experience true like ridiculousness the way children would. It's kind of fascinating.
It is.
But I love Karate Kid so much, and it's just such a good movie that I caught later in life. I was just like, as a kid, I'm like, I don't fucking care about karate.
I didn't hate the remake, but then again, I only ever saw it once is the thing. I saw it once, and I'm like, okay, I have no reason to need to see this again. I'm good.
I was just like, I was so against the idea that I just was like, don't fucking do that. And then, amazingly enough, Karate Kid 2 is as good as the first one. It manages
That's the thing too.
It manages to support the first one without being.
It ups the stakes. It changes the venue, which is a nice thing. It does everything that a good sequel should do.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, there's an episode right there. Good sequels. I know you and Rob did. I think we did bad sequels, or I think
we did superhero movies or something like that. Superhero movie sequels.
Let's put good sequels and bad sequels as a thing.
Yeah,
too.
I like that. But yeah,
there's a fucking show right there.
That's true. And I can't really put it on the list because I never saw it, but Ghostbusters is probably garbage.
I never saw it either.
Yeah, I love Ghostbusters. I know that I know everything about how they made the reboot, and as such, I couldn't. It was like fan-forstic. I couldn't.
Right.
I can't validate.
Good conscious. Yeah. Now, can we talk about, before we end this, Halloween from Rob Zombie?
Yeah.
I imagine I am in a great minority on this one. I didn't hate it. I thought he changed just enough of it. I think the first half is stronger than the second half because he's made it all about Michael Myers, the only character you care about because he's the only one who lives through every movie because he killed everybody else. It's at its weakest in the second half, though, when he basically just does a Cliff Notes version of the original Halloween, which obviously would never be as good as the original, because how could it possibly be? Mm-hmm. I don't hate it, though. I would put it in one of those things off to the side, though. The sequel is even weirder, because Rob Zombie pretty much straight up said, well, people didn't like my remake, so I'm not going to come back for a sequel.
Yeah.
Until the studio said, no, we want to give you more money and let you do whatever we want because we actually do want you to make one. He's like, okay, I'll do it, but I'll just do whatever I want then. And the sequel is even weirder and even trippier and even more fucked up. It honestly has more in common with like Halloween Season of the Witch back when it's like, yeah, let's just make weird anthology movies.
That was what I love the first Halloween movie because, first of all, I think that's Carpenter.
It is. It's a classic horror film,
and it's like the beginning of classic. It's the
formation. Ultimate slasher movie. I mean, I'm sure some people would argue, there's Italian horror movies that came out before, set the thing for, but the masked killer movie stabbing teens.
Exactly. So anyway, there's a lot of different stuff that we left off. We were just doing the top 10 best and worst reboots and remakes in cinema. I'm sure we left off a few that you probably are champing at the bit to hear about. So if you missed it, let us know in the comment section down below this video. What is your best/worst? Number one, best/worst remake of all time. And we'll talk about it more in the chat.
Yes, do it.
But Joel, thank you so much for joining me and doing some homework and getting these lists together. And we'll see you guys next week with another episode of Elseworlds Exchange. And hey, if you haven't already, you should definitely subscribe to this channel and subscribe over to Cape Joel over there. There's a link in the description box below this video for you to get over to Cape Joel. Cape Joel, what's happening on Cape Joel right now?
Well, if you head on over to the channel today, Matt and I did a special commentary for Batman Assault on Arkham because we figured everyone still had, the Suicide Squad fever. You can check that out. We like to do that sometimes when there's no real comic news for discussing. Obviously, I'll have all the reviews coming out for this week. It was a slim pickings kind of week, but you can still get your Spider-Mans and everything coming soon.
Totes my goats. Over here on ComicPOP, we are releasing we just released a new episode of the Weekly Poll. Tonight, we're going to be releasing an episode of Back Issues, which will be Punisher Batman from 1994, written by Chuck Dixon, with art by John Romita Jr. It's the first time Romita Jr. drew Batman.
It's going to be a good one.
God, it's a fun episode, and it's proof positive that we don't just do the most popular book ever on back issues. We just do books that I want to talk about. Incidentally, we also visited Toy Con last weekend, and I just finished cutting together and releasing a video about that. That's going to be dropping probably on Saturday, so check us out every day of the week, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, here on Comic Pop, and of course, listen to us audio-wise on iTunes. had to cough.
It happens.
But what's the other thing? Oh, and this episode will be available on Friday as well.
Cool.
So catch us there, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Later.